Hey, John, I'm going to ask you this. It's a real simple question. Do the Cardinals have a road back? And I'm not even going to be talking about contention. Let's talk about 500. Do they have a realistic road back to at least reach 500? And depending if that would happen, going from there. What do you think?
Yeah, Bernie, I want to say yes. You look around the locker room and you see talent everywhere. And this club's history of being better in the second half than the first half. But until they prove that they can be that consistent team, I would have to say no. I mean, in sports, it's you go by what have you done lately, and this team has had good flashes. They had the good stretch where they beat the Cubs and swept the Red Sox and came home and took 5 out of 7 against the Brewers and the Dodgers. But then they fell off a cliff again, and they played well against the Yankees and then go to Miami and blow 2 leads. So I just don't think they've exhibited the kind of consistency to be able to say that right now. Do they have the talent? Do they have the potential? Do they have the pedigree? Yes. But until they show that they can be consistent, I think the answer is no.
John, I'm going to ask you another kind of simple Simon question because that's all I can do, which is as you sit here today, the trading deadline's not that far off now. It's within vision. You can see it, August the 1st. How do you assess, and I'm only going to limit this to 2 guys, how do you assess the possibility of the Cardinals trading Jordan Montgomery, Jack Flaherty, or maybe even both?
Yeah, I think they're going to try to get a feel on both of those. I talked to Jordan Montgomery the other day about this topic. He was none too happy to talk about it, didn't want to talk about it. But he made it clear in spring training. He said, look, we told them we would like to do an extension during the offseason. And he said they never got one call from the Cardinals. And he said the other day, he said, we'll see what happens in free agency. Like, I don't think he's even open to listening to the topic now. And, I know Jack Flaherty's anxious about being a free agent for the first time in his career. I think both of those guys are going to be looking to hit free agency. And, they feel like the window is kind of closed on, talking to the Cardinals right now about being, re-signed or that sort of thing. I think they're both going to look at free agency. So I think the Cardinals have to explore and find out how badly both of them want to be in St. Louis, what it's going to take to bring them back. And if you don't like what you hear, you probably have to look around. You probably have to see what you can get for those 2 guys before the deadline because, Montgomery made it clear that, hey, the time to talk about an extension was during the offseason and a call never came. So he was a little bit stung by that. He was a little bit surprised by that. And I don't think he really wants to even entertain this all right now. So, the Cardinals are going to have to do their due diligence. If they get a read that those guys are going to be, definitely want to be free agents, they definitely want to make $20-25 million a year, they may have to look and see what they can get for them before the deadline.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation because it always kind of circles back to a question I know a lot of the fans, as they should, are asking. It's like, well, if you got such terrible starting pitching, which has been the case for, most of the time this year, you've had a little success here and there, but how do you get better when you're going to let Montgomery walk out? And Flaherty, who, look, he's in a positive direction right now. I'm not saying he's great. He's not consistent as Montgomery. But how do you get better when your 2 best guys in this rotation, arguably, you're going to say bye-bye? It's entirely possible you'll say bye-bye to both of them. Sometimes it is hard to understand the way this organization operates.
Yeah, Bernie, they knew last offseason that they were going into this with, 4/5 of their rotation was going to be free at the end of the year. Adam Wainwright's obviously retiring, and then those 2 guys are free agents. So they knew this was coming. They got Miles Miklasz signed to an extension. He was the other one. That makes the 4. They got him signed to an extension, but they never broached the topic with the other 2. I can understand maybe wanting to, tell Jack, hey, let's see you do it first, and then we'll talk extension or we'll sign you long term. But I think Montgomery showed enough last year that maybe the Cardinals should have broached that. 6'6" left-handers, it still boggles my mind that he was free at the deadline last year. The Yankees are still paying for letting him go, and I think every time he faces them, he's gonna be tough on them. Montgomery's the one that they should have. Looking back on it now, they definitely should have tried to entertain talks with him.
Yeah.
Because 6'6" lefties don't grow on trees. I can understand saying, "Hey, Jack, prove it, and then we'll sign you." But Montgomery won those first 5 starts. He looked really good last season. I think he's a guy that they should have tried to pursue, in the offseason and lock him up long term.
Yeah, I don't know why he seems to be underestimated by too many people. I was talking about him briefly earlier in opening the show, where the thing I love about Montgomery is if you look at him now. Listen, he does have to use your to use something you just said. He does have imposing size. He's a big, rugged guy. But his stuff is not overpowering. His stuff, when you watch him go to work, there's a bulldog aspect to him. But you're not sitting there like, for example, like if you're watching the young starter the Marlins put out there last night, and you're going like, wow, this guy's got. Man, how do you even make contact? His stuff is great. Yeah. Monty doesn't have that. He can make pitches, and he's a tough competitor, and he absolutely makes the best of what he has. And I'll take that kind of guy any day of the week. I don't need someone to blow me away with the radar reading, the velocity reading. This guy's he's a bulldog, and he's effective, and he's consistent, and he's durable. Yeah,
definitely. You were mentioning Perez last night. We were all talking about it, and Ollie said after the game, it's an easy 100. Like, he looks so calm and so composed, and then all of a sudden, bam, the ball's right on you. It's something else to see. But like I said, maybe people underestimate Montgomery because he doesn't throw 100.
Right.
But Andrew Kisner was saying the other day, he said he's actually pretty imposing when he's 6'6" on the mound, and he's throwing this heavy, heavy sinker that, the bottom's falling out of it, and it's coming downhill at 6'6", and, the guy knows how to pitch. Yadier Molina, I know everybody misses the Cardinals, undoubtedly missed him. Yadier Molina was the guy who told him last year, you have to pitch inside. You have to throw your four seam inside to keep people from leaning out over the plate. And, that really turned things around for Montgomery. It made him a better pitcher. And, when he's throwing that heavy sinker and then he's threatening guys on the inside corner, that's when he's at his best. And, he's been on a good run now. He won his first 2 outings. He had that rough stretch where he was pitching well, wasn't getting any run support. Then he had a tough stretch where he wasn't winning at all. And now he's won 4 in a row going into the night. So, people can underestimate him all they want, but he is tough to hit. 6'6", throwing a heavy sinker. He said the other day, he watched the first couple of games of that Yankee series, and they were free swinging and swinging away. And he said, you know what, I'm going to throw him sinker, 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 and let him hit the ball right into the ground. And sure enough, that's what the Yankees did.
Our friend John Denton from MLB.com joins us here. And again, please follow him on Twitter. I mean, he's always keeping you informed on Twitter, developments before Cardinals games, during Cardinals games, after Cardinals games. It's at John Denton 555. John, you've gotten to know Wilson Contreras, I think, pretty well. You've had insightful pieces written about him. You've done that. You've done the writing. I'm sorry, misphrased that. I think you got a sense of who he is, what makes him tick. Is a guy that we've been seeing. The guy that just plays hard, and he's ultra competitive, and he's getting in the face of a Marlins player last night. He's diving after like a little foul pop right behind home plate that he had no chance at all to get, but he almost got it because he went on a mad dive to try to get it. This seems to me like that's the Wilson Contreras that we saw in Chicago, that relentlessness.
Yeah, Bernie. I mean, I tell you, the one thing about him is he cares. Like, there are a lot of guys, baseball, they play so many games, you learn to kind of flush it pretty quickly, and you'll see guys after the game, they've already kind of moved on. Wilson Contreras cares. Like, he wears losses all over his face, his body language. He burns about as hot as Nolan Arenado, and I hadn't been around many athletes that burn hotter than Nolan Arenado. And Wilson Contreras is right there. Like, he's the type of guy, if he's on your team, you love him. And if he's on the other team, you're going to hate him. And you know what? He doesn't care if you hate him. He will get in people's faces. He will not let you talk to his pitcher. I loved that the other night. Jack actually put his head down and turned away, looked away, and didn't even see it. Contreras was in the guy's face telling him, shut your mouth, don't talk to my pitcher. So, that's where you start with a player. Does he care? Does it hurt him to lose? Does he want to win more than he hates losing? And that guy, that's the case with him. He's been through a lot of rough patches this year. A lot of weird things have happened with him, and he's been a soldier, Bernie. That guy cares every single night, whether the Cardinals win or lose. And that's the kind of players that Cardinal fans love. Has he been great defensively? No. Has he had the best season offensively? No. But the guy cares every single night, and that's what you want to have. If you're a fan of a team, that's the kind of player you want to cheer for.
And, John, you and I have had this conversation, or we've discussed this, I know, multiple times here on the show. I can safely say, I was very confident that he would start hitting. It was a very strange beginning to his season for reasons we've already talked about. It was just the way he was treated by the Cardinals was just ridiculous. So it would, and having to, succeed Yadier Molina. I mean, I can understand why the dude was kind of stressed out. But the entire time, even when he wasn't getting hits, you and I talked about this. You go to StatCast and you look at his contact rate, you look at his hard hit rate, you look at his barrel rate, you look at his average exit velocity, you look at all those things, and it was all there. It was as good, if not better, than it's always been. So it's just a matter of time. And he is absolutely now getting rewarded for all of that great contact that he is known for. So I'm really happy for the guy. I really am, because I think everybody had hoped for kind of a faster start. But my goodness, we can understand why it took some time for him to settle in.
Yeah, I mean, he was hitting balls right on the nose, right at people a lot. Line drives to the second baseman, hitting bullets out to center field, that sort of thing. The guy can hit. Like he didn't forget how to hit. He went through some stuff. I'm not going to deny that. But I wrote a story a couple weeks ago. The guy spent 3 hours on the phone with Victor Martinez, one of his biggest mentors in baseball, talking about hitting. And Victor Martinez told you don't look like yourself out there. You're best when you're playing with your energy and that sort of thing. So, like I said, he cares. He pours everything he's got into this. When he has a bad game, he wears it on his face. He wears it on his body. It matters to him. He's not the kind that'll flush it as soon as it's over. He obsesses over it the same way Arenado does. Arenado hit .230 with 2 home runs in April, but look at his numbers now. Guys like that always put up their numbers because they're that good.
John Denton, always a pleasure, man. You got a day off today, so I didn't mean to keep you so long, but I'm spoiled by you, so I had to, can't help myself. So thanks a lot, my friend.
Anything for you, Bernie. Anything
See you,
for
buddy.
you, Bernie. Take care. Have a good Friday.
All right, you too. That's our friend John Denton. Love talking to that guy. Yeah, I tell you what, Jim Hewer, we're going to take a break here. And by the way, it's we'll talk some MLS and St. Louis City SC at 5:30. Coming up, so we'll be getting into some other things, but the Cardinals are still the dominant story. And I was looking at some stuff about, and I'll be really, really quick about this. I was looking at some stuff about Contreras, and the stuff that tells you, the guy hasn't lost a damn thing in terms of hitting. It's just he was hitting the ball hard to all the wrong places, which happens to all hitters during the season. It's just that with him, it happened at the beginning of the season or the first couple months. It was just almost unfair. He deserved a better fate offensively. You look at him now, like he's in the 79th percentile average exit velocity, and 79th percentile is really outstanding. 74th percentile hard hit rate, 75th percentile barrel rate. His what he should have in terms of the slugging percentage, the slugging percentage that he should have based on the quality of his contact would put him in the 76th percentile. These are all outstanding numbers. Even his walk rate is like in the 60s in terms of percentile. They're all outstanding underlying factors. And then you look at pop time. He's got like a pop time. In other words, how long it takes him to receive the baseball and get the throw underway to go after somebody trying to steal. That's about 70% percentile, which is really, really good. And He's still below average framer. I'm not surprised, although he's been getting better. His blocking thing's not good as it should be. I'm a little puzzled by that because I watch every single game, and there was a time where I think Wilson Contreras was, I was disappointed in his blocking, but I think he's gotten much better at that, but he's still technically below average. But if you look at, there's a metric at Baseball Savant, or StatCast, I should say. When you look at it, they have a thing called caught stealing above average. In other words, all the catchers out there, the average level, and then, all right, who's above average? Wilson Contreras, in terms of this catching metrics, throwing people out, he's tied for 5th in the majors among all the catchers, and it's a long list of them. So he's what's the word? He has evolved into the guy. He's still evolving into the guy that the Cardinals wanted to sign to a 5-year deal for $87.5 million. And yeah, I really mean that. Because when a guy hits a ball so damn hard, so consistently, better things will happen for him. And that's what we're seeing now. And in my opinion, his defense isn't any worse or isn't any less than what I expected. He is about where I thought he'd be. I thought maybe the blocking would be a little better. But in a time where people are trying to steal bases all over the place because of the new rules, you have got a bazooka behind home plate, and he's one of the best there is in the business at suppressing base stealers. And actually, I hate to say it because it's not fair. He's got some of the Molina thing going, and that people don't even try to run against Wilson Contreras as much as they do most other catchers. It's like they know about his pop time. They know about his his caught stealing metrics, and they're like, let's just wait till a better opportunity. So I think he's doing fine. His numbers for the year, they're disappointing. But I'm going to take a pass on being ignorant by saying, well, that doesn't define him. This guy, this organization screwed up the beginning of his career here, and he put all the pressure on himself, but he never stopped hitting the ball hard, and he never stopped working on his catching. And now you're seeing him take on a leadership role on the field. So, yeah, by the end of the season or by August or whatever you want to say, his numbers will be really good. He's actually on pace to put up the same kind of numbers that he did for the Cubs from 2016 through 2022. So I'm all on board with Wilson Contreras. I really like what I see.
I've been happy with him. I've been a little disappointed. And this is, like you pointed out, I was a little disappointed in his ability to block pitches sometimes. Because I think that's when I went, got to be a little better there. Pop time, throwing out runners, I think that's good. And part of that is the fact that they just don't run on them that much. I mean, if you watch enough baseball, there's guys running all over the place on certain catchers. And that's not happening here. And you got enough problems with guys just trying to throw strikes. They don't hold runners all that well anymore anyway. And I think, I'm okay with it. I know everything that he's done is okay except for, like I said, that one little thing. I want him to hit more and drive in a few more runs in some key spots, and he's had a few issues there from time to time, but I'm okay with it. I did really enjoy him standing in front of was it De La Cruz last night?
Yeah.
And he just said, "Hey, knock that off. Just shut up. Just shut it up." And I thought it was great. I also thought it was interesting that Jim Edmonds said, "I don't know why they all come running out of the dugout. Somebody should be fined for that."
They should, actually.
It was just like when you saw it from the wide angle when they showed the replays, like, what's going on here? Those guys, every one of those guys should get a fine. If you're serious about not wanting that to happen, Major League Baseball, you should fine every guy that jumped the fence over there on the dugout and came out, because there really was no reason for it. Right. So, but yeah, I'm okay with Contreras right now.
Yeah, Contreras. So you go back to June 16th. So we're talking about what's that? Like 3 weeks ago. Closing in on a month ago, he's hitting 382, and his on-base percentage, because he draws walks, which people forget about, is .460. His slugging percentage is over .600. He's got an OPS about 1,100. He's been doing the job offensively, and I think his blocking has gotten better. And you know why I think it's gotten better? Because I was thinking about it. He knows the pitchers better. Because it isn't just a simple matter of like, pitcher threw it where he shouldn't have thrown it, and the ball was kind of hard to get to, or the pitcher bounced one and it bounced it seemingly right to where Contreras could get it or should get it. Pitchers use all kinds of different spin. So even when they bounce it, you got to kind of know, okay, when this guy bounces one, I can pretty much count on it. It's going to go this way or that way. I really think he's learning the very fine points of the pitchers that he's working with, including what happens when they're a little wild. Where should he set up, or what should he be thinking to do in case a guy throws it way inside or way outside, or how's the ball going to spin when he bounces one? So I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt on that. I just am. But the dude is, if I tell you what, every damn guy in that clubhouse cared as much as he did, we wouldn't have one complaint about Wilson Contreras, and they'd have a lot more wins under their belt. So, yeah, I'm tired of the nitpicking. We're now seeing who he is. People wanted to see it from day one. And people didn't understand how wrong and horrendous it was the way the Cardinals treated this guy. And the fact that his first 6 weeks here, Yadier Molina. But his entire damn pitching staff was harping about that. Yep. Yeah, he's not Yadier Molina. Yadier Molina retired. He wasn't waived. He wasn't designated for assignment. The Cardinals didn't trade him. He chose to retire, and that's after a 2022 season when he wasn't all the way into it mentally either, or physically. And it's just like, oh, he's not Yadier Molina. Well, they miss Yadi. Oh, Yadi. I want what? I want Yadi. It's not fair to this guy, and I'm still just really ticked off about this, as you can tell, as I sit here and holler.
Hey, well, look, everything that he had to deal with, I mean, I give him all the props in the world for not going off the deep end and just letting a few people know how, this is ridiculous. This is what I'm going through. I mean, he could have gone Tino Martinez on this thing after what they did to him, right?
That's a great example.
I don't want anything to do with this place. This place is, blah, blah, blah. You can come up with every four-letter word you want to describe it based on the way they were treating him. And he didn't. That was as much class, I think, as any ball player could manage. And he's got to get more credit for that. And now he's coming out on this other side, and you start to see, like you said, the more of what Wilson Contreras really is as a player.
I think so, and I just appreciate him, and now it's starting to come together for him as well. And maybe. Well, I'll just leave it at that. I don't need to go on about it. I've already probably gone on about it too much. The other thing about it is we'll say this, and this isn't a hollering thing. This is much different than a hollering thing. But if you look at Contreras, even with the slow start offensively, and keep in mind that the defense is baked into this metric, he right now among regular catchers in the majors, he ranks 6th in wins above replacement.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, there ain't a damn thing wrong with that because that number's going to continue to go up. So even under bad circumstances, his value has been assessed 6th best in the majors at the catcher position. So I really don't care what some ignoramus has to say about it. I go to where the information is, and he's rounding into form, and it's glad to see, because even I was getting a little like, okay, I know you're hitting the ball hard, but man, come on,
Yeah.
But he did. He got through it. He's got the, what he's got right now? He's got the same number of wins above replacement as JT Realmuto.
Oh, that's saying something.
But he sucks. Yeah, Mo screwed up again. He threw all that money away. This guy's terrible. No, actually, he's playing at a level of JT Realmuto, even though he got off to a bad start, talking about Contreras, offensively this year. And we all knew that his defense is what it is. I don't think there's anything there that says, "Oh man, I really thought he'd be better at this." We knew whatever the dings that you could find in his defensive performance. We already knew they were there, and he hasn't done anything unexpected where you say, "Wow, that's worse than I thought." Anybody who did the research and paid attention would know what to expect, and this is about what I expected defensively. But for a guy who's such a total failure. It's funny how he's hanging with some big-name catchers high on the leaderboard for wins above replacement. I mean, that's kind of I don't know how that's even possible. Yeah.
A concerned texter says, "Jim, please check Bernie's temperature and blood pressure."
Well, I check my blood pressure every day, and the doctor says, "Well, you don't do it in the morning." Okay. No, it's a worse time to do it is in the morning.
Oh.
Then I get and I love the doctor, but I'm just saying. Then I get and you don't drink coffee. You can't drink coffee. And I'm like, well, I work all day. I need some coffee. So you can't do your blood pressure in the morning. You can't have coffee before you take it. Well, how long do I have to go between my morning cup of coffee until I take my blood pressure reading? Well,
oh, no.
So the thing is, it's actually coming down.
That's good.
Not as fast as it should be, but I'm being a good boy with all my personal habits. So I'll get there. But yeah, I must admit, doing this show doesn't help. But who's to blame for that? Me. Because I get all worked up about stuff. So I appreciate that comment on the text line. I really do. It's funny. But it's also a lot of truth into that as well.